Hi, you're watching Poll Baazi with me, Aditi Prasad, and with us, as always, today we have expert pollster Yashwant Deshmukh. Also joining us for our broadcast today is Hindustan Times Chetan Chauhan, who has been tracking these elections in 4 states and 1 union territory very, very closely. On the agenda today, of course, we have Kerala. Now, and the incumbent Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan. Now, the state has voted today to decide who will run their government for the next 5 years. It was a single-phase poll, so which means that the fates of all candidates have been sealed. Yashwant, of course, would have access to the exit poll data, but obviously he's not going to tell us anything about it here because it falls against the election commission guidelines. We will get to know the outcome on May 2nd, but the question on everyone's lips is similar: that will the LDF government break tradition and make a comeback? Now, Yashwant, let me start with you. Kerala has a history of overthrowing the incumbent government every 5 years. It's been LDF, UDF, LDF, UDF. By that logic, it should be the Congress-led UDF's turn. But most opinion polls have indicated LDF's return. Now, opinion polls, let's tell our viewers, were done before the election commission guidelines kicked in, which is quite some time back. Yashwant, what's your assessment right now? Can Vijayan buck the trend of the alternate re-election of UDF and LDF? Yashwant, you're on mute. I think we are not able to hear you.
I
Yeah, we heard you for a moment and now you're gone again.
Are you guys getting my voice now?
Yes, now we get your voice.
All right. I just mentioned that because I'm privy to exit poll data, it won't be possible for me to actually share or say anything that is predictive in nature right now. But we can certainly discuss on the things which has taken Kerala by surprise so far. As you just mentioned, that Kerala has been a typical pendulum election, a state where every 5 years the governments do change. And 2 years back in the Lok Sabha election, even at that point of time, the idea of that change was visible in that way because UDF or the Congress actually swept the Lok Sabha seats in Kerala.
Right.
Across the India, it was a horrible performance for the Congress, but in Kerala, it is too strong. So, going by that performance, Congress should have been ideally in a position to sweep by 2/3 or 3/4 majority in Kerala right now. But the very fact that everybody is talking about a fight and even a possible LDF comeback and the popularity of the chief minister shows that something changed after the Lok Sabha election in 2019. And that something was nothing but COVID. Because we have seen on the COVID tracker and other trackers that we have been running that sometime around this time last year was the time when all of a sudden Kerala Chief Minister converted that crisis into an opportunity, and his daily briefings and the tackling of COVID uh, and direct communication with the people at large all of a sudden transformed him from what branding of aloof, cold politician to a very affable, connected, and available politician. And that is what actually has changed everything over the last 12 months. And this is why we are looking at a probability of a very, very close and good contest on cards. The reason is nothing but the chief minister. So we would know the exit poll results on 29th and final results on the 2nd. But
Right.
what looks on card is a very keen contest for sure.
You've talked about how, Pinarayi Vijayan, he handled COVID. How would you, his critics, of course, say that his handling of COVID, his governance record, his economy record has not been that good. How has he been able to change that perception? And I want to bring you in here, Chetan. What is that? And this is despite the gold smuggling scam. which has really tainted not, the Chief Minister's office directly there. What is it, that has worked in his favor, that he's actually being able to give a very spirited contest to the UDF, which by the natural cycle should have been back in power very easily?
One big thing, I think the big advantage for him was that after the Lok Sabha elections, the Congress became very confident, and the infighting in the Congress intensified to a large extent. There are different camps in the Congress: Chenithala camp, Antony camp, Omachandi camp. So there
Yep.
was a lot of infighting, and they thought that they are going to form the next government in Kerala, and they lost focus in between. That provided an opportunity to Pinarayi Vijayan to strengthen his party, to make a sort of comeback. Yes, in COVID management, they really did well, but one thing which I think for the first time a left government in Kerala has done is marketing of the government schemes, the government achievements in the way the BJP used to do, or to some extent the Congress used
Yeah.
to do, which normally we see in the Hindi heartland or the northern India, but it is not so obvious in Kerala. Kerala, it was not so uh, obvious that the marketing used to happen. Like if you see, the PR agency was hired by the Kerala government to market itself for the COVID management, other state government schemes, that how they have changed the state, which has not happened earlier with any of the left front governments in Kerala. So I think the two factors helped him. That COVID situation allowed him to show that he's a bit very good governance guy who can implement the things in a very smooth manner. But there have been critics of the COVID management also. There have been people saying that the COVID numbers were hidden, the numbers were fudged, and the COVID have repeatedly spiked in Kerala. So it shows that the COVID management was not up to the mark. But apart from the gold smuggling scam, there were other scams also. Like just before the elections, there was a scam on the recruitment in colleges where there was allegation by the Congress and others that the left front cadre, their members have been hired in faculty in colleges and university, which included wife of a former MP also,
Right.
though he denied the allegations. Uh, so there were allegations, but the if the opposition is not able to make up stem up ripples on the ground, so it will have no impact. And the Congress was almost absent uh, from Kerala for a long time because of infighting. And till the local body elections happened, it was a wake up call for Congress, because the CPIM swept the local body elections. It, I think, gave some sort of a confidence to Pinarayi Vijayan that they can come return back to the power. And also to the pollsters, they thought that after winning the local body elections, in the assembly elections 2 months down the line, the left will really do well. But what I have heard from our reporters in Kerala and from our friends in Kerala, it is not a cakewalk for Pinarayi Vijayan. And if there is an upset and the Congress is able to make a comeback and win the elections, please don't be surprised. It is a very close contest. I think it will be a few numbers here and there for any alliance to form the government on May 2nd. It is much, much closer elections than what the opinion poll had predicted. And
What do you say to that, Yashwant? Much closer elections than what opinion polls had predicted. In fact, over the last 15-20 days, we've actually seen Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi making a beeline for Kerala. A lot of their campaigning is concentrated in Kerala. They actually feel that they have a fighting chance to take back the state from the LDF.
Well, even in the tracker, over the last 6 months, particularly starting the January, the contest started going closer and closer. By the time we were in the third week of March, when 24th of March we came with our final numbers at that point of time. So with every wave, the contest was getting closer and tighter. That is right. It is correct in that. And a lot will depend on the relative turnout today that has happened. Which part of the demography has come out in a better number to vote. And definitely there is a contest on cards, no doubt about that. But
That is very interesting. Yeah.
my point is limited to the fact, Aditi, that even if Congress somehow manages to win, I mean, by hook or by crook, uh, this election was for them to lose in that way, because ideally a party which is winning 18 or 19 out of the 20 Lok Sabha seats just 2 years back, and with
Right.
5 years of incumbency in the routine incumbency, they should have been winning ideally 2/3, 3/4 majority in Kerala right now. But the fact that in the trackers, in the polls, they were actually running behind, and now that they have woken up, and in the run up in the last 15, 20 days, if they manage to compete and they manage to even win the state, that would still leave a lot of telling on the state of affairs within the Congress in Kerala.
Right, and you see visuals on your screen, Rahul Gandhi swimming with the fishermen of Kerala, all kinds of photo opportunities, all kinds of very public appearances and campaigning by both Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, because really, and I will come to that, that just right after the G23 rebellion, if they lose the state of Kerala, it's going to be very telling for the Congress. But I just want to talk about, before we go into that, you talked about the polling, Yashwant, and Kerala recorded over 70% turnout till about 5 p.m. How do you? I mean, of course, every party is sort of trying to swing it to their to their advantage right now, saying if the polling is high, it's because it's anti-incumbency. They're voting against the incumbent government. The opposite, the government is saying that if it's a high turnout, it's a vote towards the governance offered by the Pinarayi Vijayan government, and it's for the LDF. What is your reading of this 70% voter turnout by 5 p.m.? Because Kerala traditionally has had a very high voter turnout, so these figures are really going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we need to wait for the final figures, Aditi, because the 5 o'clock figures are generally not the final ones. I mean, even though the official polling stops at a certain time, but at that point of time, all the voters who are in the line, Election Commission allows them to vote. And we have seen
Right.
polling in a high turnout case going up to 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. So we have to wait, first of all, to see what the final turnout is. Second thing, Aditi, of late in the last 6 years, we have seen all sort of elections with a high turnout resulting in a pro-incumbent as well as anti-incumbent verdicts, and a low turnout also resulting in a pro and anti-incumbent verdicts. So it actually depends on the relative turnout, which side of the spectrum has a higher, what you can say, if they are more excited to come out to vote. So it is
Right.
totally on the relative turnout factor. But having said that, uh, Congress should focus on a high turnout, because if there is if there is a low turnout, even few points less than what it was before, uh, uh, I would rather say that it would not be good. But if it is a really excellent high turnout, it will certainly tell us two things. Number one, a very keen contest, and if the turnout crosses the previous one, then certainly they have a tendency to be a more anti-incumbent verdict rather than a pro-incumbent.
All right, more an anti-incumbent if it crosses the previous turnout. But I want to come to you, Chetan, and talk about before I actually go into the BJP factor in these elections, because suddenly the BJP considers itself a big. I'm not saying whether it is or it's not, but it at least considers itself a big player in the in Kerala. I want to talk about the Congress and about Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi making a beeline for Kerala over the last 15-20 days. If there is, as opinion polls have predicted, a comeback of the Pinarayi Vijayan government, do you believe, what kind of a message does it send for the Congress party, especially coming close on the heels of the G23 rebellion?
I think if in case the Congress is not able to make uh, government in Kerala, will be an extremely upsetting signal for Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, because this comes in wake of the G23 rebellion, as you said, and before the next president, which they are selecting for only for 2 years, is
Right.
elected. So the voice of dissidents against Rahul and the Gandhi family will increase. It will
Will
provide.
only grow.
It will definitely grow. If I have to give you this small data, the Rahul Gandhi has held 23 rallies in the elections so far. Of them, 10 were in Kerala. Priyanka Gandhi also held 7 to 8 events there. So if you see the focus, it has been high focus, and the Congress believes that they can upset the left in Kerala. Some things Congress has done right. Unlike the previous elections where there used to be a lot of infighting during the ticket distribution, we have not seen that sort of a infighting or fighting during the ticket distribution or after it, though Congress lost some of the leaders like a few leaders left the Congress. This has happened, but very young generation, the new people have been given tickets by the Congress. Left has also given. So in a way, it is a very. They have tried to make a generational change in Kerala. If they lose, so another experiment of Rahul Gandhi of generational change will fail, and the old guard, I think, will come back stronger in the Congress party and will try to stake claim over the Congress party and say that again Rahul has failed, and this is up team times. He has failed in elections,
Right.
from national elections to state elections. So there's a lot in stake for the Gandhi family, not in Kerala or in other states also, because Assam also, there's a lot in stake for them.
So a lot at stake for Rahul Gandhi personally, as far as these elections go in Kerala. Not so much in other states because they are not really a key player in any of the other states. So here they have
Ah,
at least a fighting chance to win, so to speak. But let me talk about the BJP with you, Yashwant. What do your opinion polls say? What did your opinion polls say as far as the BJP's um, uh, you know, presence in the Kerala election this time around is concerned?
Well, people of Kerala still don't consider BJP as a key power player, honestly. It has benefited in over the previous years due to the Hindu vote consolidation, Aditi. But honestly speaking, their vote share it does go up during the Lok Sabha election, but in the Vidhan Sabha election, it just comes down by
Right.
several points. So even in the current time frame, I don't see people in Kerala considering BJP as a key player at this point of time, and I would be very surprised if they are in contest in more than half a dozen seats. When I say in contest, that means either in a bipolar or triangular contest, they get kind of more than 25% of the votes.
Hmm.
Unlikely, but they opened their account in the last assembly polls when Oraj
Right.
Gopalan won his assembly seat, and that was a
One seat.
uh,
Yeah.
considered to be okay, finally they have broken the thing. But Kerala is still at least 5 to 10 years away from the NDA map in terms of making a good impact electorally. I don't see that happening anytime near soon. But yes, Lok Sabha
Yeah.
election is a different game altogether. You know, they can get more traction in at least 5 to 7 Lok Sabha seats in terms of contest, having a good contest whenever the next Lok Sabha elections happen.
Unlike Bengal, where they have 3 seats, but they are looking at a huge gain. But here they have 1 seat, but you don't see them making any conclusive
Because
dent. You know,
between Bengal then and Bengal now, there was a 2019 mandate where they
absolutely
almost polled 40%. You see, that is
right.
why we have seen that jump happening, and now they are in a bipolar contest with Mamata Banerjee and trying to even dislodge Mamata Banerjee. But in case of Kerala, their optimal vote share has gone up 15, 16, 17% and gone down to roughly about 11, 12%. So what I'm trying to say, which Chetan might agree with me, that they have oscillated so far between 12 to 17% votes. Now, for having a serious impact in any state politics, one needs to cross the threshold of 25% votes,
Right.
actually. And that is where they are still stuck for almost like last 10 to 15 years, that, uh, they are unable to breach or that 17, 18 point and going up to the 25, that jump is still not happening for the BJP.
And in Kerala specifically, there is a very key factor or impediment, so to speak, for BJP's rise. Really, is the Muslim and the Christian vote bank. I mean, Muslims constitute 27% of the population, and Christians comprise another 18% of the
Yeah,
population. So,
yeah. It is. I mean, let's be very clear. It is not that there is no communal polarization over there, but as I said earlier, that in the communal polarization, it is a different kind of equation. It is not just Hindu versus Muslims, but it is also Christian versus the Muslims. And
right,
if at all UDF is out of the disaster from 2019 and is still trying to make a competition and trying to win Kerala, retain Kerala, it is largely because of the Hindu and the Christian vote consolidation in their favor. They also picked up Kerala Congress money Joseph action, because of which in the local body elections they won few critical sites, which
right.
earlier it was difficult for them to win. So those kind of social engineering, if I may call so, has been done from the LDF side, and they might have a long-term impact as well. But as Chitan said, that 3 months back they were leading quite substantially, but till the last tracker came in about 10 days back, I guess the lead was going down and down, and it was indicating a very fair fight and very close contest to move forward. So let's wait and watch what actually happens in Kerala.
What about Sreedharan? And I want to bring in Chetan there. You know, the gamble that BJP took, of getting a aging but definitely well-respected technocrat instead of a career politician. How does that factor play out? Will Because Sreedharan has gone on record saying that BJP is going to be kingmaker. He's already said that they'll not be king. But to be kingmaker also they need to have what Yashwant was talking about, a 25% vote share or somewhere to make a dent.
No, if you are lucky with 2 seats, also you can be a kingmaker. But in the present scenario, I don't think that the BJP would be a kingmaker, because the history of Kerala, the voter has been decisive either way. So
Right,
the impact of Sreedharan to me has not been very high for BJP. In certain urban areas, it may fetch maybe 1%, 2% votes in favor of BJP, but it is not a clincher or a huge swing will happen because of Sreedharan. Even his own campaign, as we have seen, has not been very exciting. He didn't get a large number of people, even though the Prime Minister campaigned for him. uh, and Sreedharan has been out of Kerala for most of his life. It's only the last 10 years since he retired from DMRC, he has been in Kerala. So that factor has also gone against him to some extent. But the party he has chosen is also not very favorable in the place from where he's contesting. If
hmm,
he would have contested from his home constituency where he stays, I think he could have done slightly better. But BJP may be not in a decisive way form a government or this thing, but in certain areas the BJP will decide who will win. Left wins or the Congress win. So in that way, I think the BJP's vote share would be important if they are able to increase their vote share as compared to the previous assembly elections by 2 or 3%, and in a close contest, if they make a difference in 10 to 15 seats in 140-member assembly, it will be a huge impact. We can see that the left may lose because of the BJP, the Congress may lose because of the BJP in a close contest. So we should not underwrite the BJP's role in this election. They have a role,
hmm,
maybe, as we say in UP, the vote cutter role, maybe there for
right,
BJP in Kerala, but they have an
hmm,
important role. And we should see that in Bengal, BJP has been very aggressive since 2014. They have got a foothold. The dissidents in TMC, they got the leaders also, whereas in Kerala they did not get that sort of a space which they got in Bengal, because the
right.
opposition space was vacated by left and Congress to an extent that BJP occupied that space. That did not happen in Kerala. Also, the demographic of Kerala is quite different, and the educational levels in Kerala are also quite different from West Bengal. That is the reason the BJP was not able to find the foothold. A. Rajagopalan recently himself said in an interview to a newspaper that the literacy levels in Kerala is very high. People are much more aware here. That is a reason that they have not been able to expand to such a
That perhaps,
huge.
perhaps a slip of the tongue, maybe, for admitting to such a
But
thing.
that was on record. He did not deny it later. There was no clarification appeared in
Yeah,
that newspaper. Next day,
absolutely,
Raja Gopalan
absolutely.
saying that I have
So he
been
probably said it.
misquoted. Yeah.
And which is why perhaps the BJP sort of thought that banking on a man of Sreedharan's reputation, so to speak, who's not a career
No, it is not.
politician.
No, Aditi, if you see Kiran Bedi, when she was named as the chief minister candidate in Delhi, it
Yeah,
in fact boomeranged for BJP. BJP would have
right.
done much better if they wouldn't have named Kiran Bedi as the chief minister candidate in Delhi. So
Hmm.
having a big name always does not help, because Sreedharan and Kiran Bedi were not trained for electoral politics. Electoral
Right.
politics is totally a different ball game. So that's sometimes it does not work, and we have examples of
I,
that also.
I'd like Yashwant's take on that. Yashwant, you've been following politics far too long to not have a take on this.
No, Aditi, he's absolutely right that they need more time when
In
for
Kerala.
grooming politics. Kiran Bedi, it was unfair, or it would be unfair on her to say she was the cause. BJP would have lost that election in any way. But if she would have been given more time, maybe to be groomed well and to know the nuances of the politics, how to deal the media and like that, she might have
Hmm.
been different. But the same goes with Mr. Sreedharan. But having said that, there was a role for Ms. Kiran Bedi carved out after that election. She was utilized in Puducherry, and if at all NDA somehow manages to win Puducherry, let's be very clear that her role with putting up a loggerhead with the Congress chief minister for the 5 years, and going around as a proactive lieutenant governor, that will not be discussed much. But it is not that she didn't play a role. Same goes with Mr. Sreedharan. I believe that he will get a much more important role after the elections. Even if he loses the election, it doesn't matter. Probably his expertise is going to be used by Mr. Modi somewhere else.
All right, thanks. So we'd love to, of course, hear from you on what your exit poll results are looking like today. But of course, you can't share that, Yashwant, yet, or maybe the election commission will, of course, run after you and take you in. But nice
27th,
to hear
29th,
your
sorry,
perspective.
29th we will be coming up with the exit poll numbers, and
29th will, of course, be
we
coming up.
will, yeah.
Yes, 29th will be definitely coming up with the exit polls. And Yashwant, thank you for joining us in this broadcast. Thank you for joining us, Chetan. Whether Pinarayi Vijayan bucks the trend of LDF, UDF, LDF, UDF is, of course, something we are all waiting to find out. But till then, it's going to be a very heavy next 1 month till the time the results are announced on 2nd of May for at least Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi and the Congress specifically, because this is one election that they definitely would like to win and have in their corner. I mean, they'd like to win every election, but at least this one is very, very crucial. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. Thank you for watching, viewers. We'll keep coming back to you every week with Poll Baazi. Stay tuned.